Hi everyone, Nishka here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another fun beading video for you. Before I get started, quick reminder, go check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you always know when we're posting new content. Okay, so the items that I'm using come from our recent Endless Summer collection. So I'm going to be using a size 11 seed bead and a size 15. One of these is Miyuki and one is Toho. And I'm going with a white and a red color for this project. I'm also going to be using some Chinese crystal rondelle beads. Check out how sparkly these are. These are 3 by 2 millimeter. And the main event, of course, is a pair of beautiful star findings that we are just going to bead all around to create an awesome pair of earrings. Besides that, you are going to need some fireline. I'm using 4-pound fireline in crystal because this is kind of a lighter colored project, so I wanted to make sure that the line isn't visible. And you're also going to need a beading needle. This is a size 12 beading needle, and some pair of thread snips or scissors to cut your fireline. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, you are going to thread your needle. You are going to use about a wingspan of fireline. So that's measuring from one hand to the other as you have your hands pulled across your chest. The distance will be different for each person, but I find measuring by wingspan and half wingspan and various measures of wingspan is a lot faster and easier than telling a specific number that you have to get out your measuring tape and actually measure the specific number. And these numbers don't have to be exact because you are always going to end up with a little bit of thread on the outside that you can weave in. So what we're going to start with is we are going to pick up one tiny 15-0 seed bead, and we are going to grab one of our findings. We're going to pinch that finding between our fingers, and we're going to go behind the finding and through with the needle. It doesn't matter where you start. We're going to go all the way around. You're going to let that bead come and sit on the outside of that finding, and you want to really pinch everything together. So you won't see here because I'm going to pinch it as I pull through. Once you pull the thread far enough that you have a good amount left for weaving in at the end, but not too much, you're going to take your needle and head back up that bead you just added. What you end up with is a loop like this, holding the bead to your finding. So you can just pull the thread down. As long as you are holding on to your tail, if not, it will just pull the thread right through. It's not going to stay stable until we add the next bead, and then you won't have to hold the tail. But for that first bead, you're going to have to hold the tail when you bring this bead to the end of your finding. So we are going to keep repeating that. So I'm going to grab another bead, and again I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier, which is to take the needle behind and through the finding, hold everything together as I pull my thread all the way through. And then I'm going to head back up that bead that I just added. It's going to create another loop. Now we want to bring these close together, so bring it close to your original bead, and then you can tug on it. And you see now, you don't even have to hold the tail. You can just tug, and the thread won't come through. And we're just going to keep doing that until we get all the way around. So I'm going to do a couple more for you quickly, and then I will meet you after I've completed that whole row. One more. And it doesn't really matter where you start on the star, you can start anywhere because we're going to go all the way around. And if it moves or shifts as you're working, that's fine too. It's not going to make a big difference. Again, one more time. And back up. All right, so now I've made it all the way around. I've got my last bead ready to go into that spot. So I'm going to add that last one. Again, pinching as I go. Get it situated right there where I want it. And then I'm going to head back up that bead. Don't let it get away from you. I'm going to head back up just like you've been doing all along. And try not to get your thread caught on the star. And you pull it tight. It's so pretty. Okay, so now we have a gap between the first bead and the last bead. So I am going to reinforce this here by heading down that bead. Heading down the bead. And then I'm going to turn this over and head back up it. So the first bead is the one that has the tail coming out of it. So now it's time to start the next row. And the next color that we're doing is red. We are going up a size. So we did white in the 15 O's, and we're going to do the red in the 11 O's. So again, we're going to continue around just as before, but instead of stitching onto the frame itself, we're going to stitch onto the stitch beneath the 2 beads that are in the first row. So I'll show you what that means because it can be a little bit confusing to describe. I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and let it head all the way down my thread. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that thread between the 2 beads, and I'm going to go underneath it. And then I'm going to head back up the 11-0 seed bead. And this causes the same kind of loop as you were doing with the white beads on the frame, as you can see here. Pull it tight, and there you have it. And we're going to keep doing that all the way around. So again, pick up a bead, find that next stitch, pull your thread through, and back up. And as you pull, it will come and sit down exactly where you want it. You're going to continue all the way around. What's going to happen is in these tight curves, you are going to find that you cannot add an 11-0 bead at every stitch. You're probably going to have to skip 1, maybe 2. And just try and make sure that you don't have it crowded too much and that there isn't too much of a gap. So use your best judgment and decide where you want to add the beads as you go through these curves, because it is going to be difficult to add a bead at every single stitch. So you may have to skip 1 or 2. I'm going to show you just one more, and then I will finish the work off camera so that you can see the next step. Super easy. So let's just keep going. And I'll meet you when we are on the other side. All right, once again, we've made it all the way around. So we have 1 bead left to put on our star. I'm picking up that last one now, and I'm finding the last thread bridge. And I'm going to head back up that last bead and tug. Now I'm going to connect that last bead to the first bead. Just get that tail out of the way. And I'm going to head under that thread bridge that I initially used for the first red bead in order to head back up that same thread path. So now everything is nicely connected. So now we are moving on to our last bead color. So now we're going to be working with even larger beads, and these are going to be our rondelles. So again, like before, I'm picking up a bead and I'm going to find that thread bridge between the next two beads, and I'm going to pass under there with my needle. And if you're passing underneath maybe the beads, see if you can try to get that needle a little bit higher so you're really under the thread and not stuck beneath the beads. If you tug enough, it will come up, but you don't have to be tugging so much. And then we're going to head back up that bead, and our rondelle is just going to come sit right where we want it. And again, same thing. Grab a rondelle, find that next thread bridge, and head back up that rondelle. These rondelles are so sparkly, they're going to add a lot of extra interest and sparkle in these earrings. And again, like you had to do with the red beads, you'll probably have to skip some thread bridges, some stitches to make it all fit so that you are not crowding the beads too much. So use your best judgment there and make sure that they're spaced perfectly. It looks like you'll probably need 2 per side, and then the top edge you'll need 1 at each stitch. So I'm going to continue around and I will meet you back when I've completed this row of blue rondelles. All right, I've gone all the way around. So now I'm going to add my last rondelle. Oops, they're running away from me in that last stitch. All right, and like before, I want to connect that last bead to the first bead. I'm going to head down that first rondelle, and then I'm going to head through my beadwork, flip this guy over. Sometimes you're going to need to wiggle those beads out of the way so that you can find that hole. Just get that tail out of here. And I'm going to just pull it tight. So we have beaded around our star shape, and now we have to make our little beaded loop so that we can turn this into an earring. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So we are coming out of this bead here, and that's a little bit off center. We really want to be coming out of the top bead at the very top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually head down the top bead, which is right next to the one I'm coming out of. And I am going to find that thread bridge underneath, which is going to allow me to turn that thread around and come back out the bead I was just coming from without losing my thread. I'm going to head back up. It's a good thing these rondelles have such nice big holes because it allows so many passes of your thread. And so here now we are where we want to be, right at the very tippy top. Now we are going to pick up 7 of our 11 seed beads. And you can make your loops different sizes. You can choose to do a bigger loop, a smaller loop. It's all personal preference. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to head back down that same rondelle. I'm going to head under that thread bridge as before. And back up our rondelle. And through the beads in our loop. You won't be able to get through all of them in one pass, but you can. So you can go a few at a time. Do the first 3, and next. And again, back through that rondelle. And you want to keep doing this a few more times to reinforce it. And then you will want to leave your thread out a little bit, make a few overhand knots, and then snip it, only then. So after you do that, we're going to add our ear wires. There you go. And so the ear wires I chose for this project are these interchangeable lever backs. And these are so cool because you do not need any tools or anything. And you can just string anything you like onto them. And voila, earrings all done. These are really, really great, fun, and casual earrings for summertime or just about any time. Using the different sizes of the seed beads allows the project to kind of grow, and then adding the rondelles at the very end, it gives it a lot of like pretty sparkle that will catch the eye as you wear them. And these lever back earrings, you can just use them and reuse them in different projects. You can have a whole bunch of earring bottoms that you've made and just switch them out. So you only need one pair of these beautiful sterling silver ear wires. So they're just excellent to have in your stash. So thank you so much for joining me. And all of these supplies and more can be found at Eureka Crystal.